Hello, fellow scholars and purveyors of morbid curiosities alike. I am Dr. Caleb, joined by the man in the witch elm, Dr. Zach. And this is SCPod. Zach, how are you today?
Not good. You tossed me in a fucking tree, you asshole.
Yeah, that's a thing, I guess.
I'll remember this next
Or
time.
not.
I'll remember this next time it's your fucking birthday.
I'm pretty sure we've established that it's always my birthday.
Yeah, you better watch out.
Do you remember? Not to tangent too early, but do you remember when we brought on our guest and they said happy birthday to me?
Wait, what?
Yeah, during the Wendigo Skull episode. That intern that we brought in, they said, "Oh, happy birthday, Dr. Caleb."
Oh yeah, that was great. That was fun.
Oh, I hate it here. Every day is a new hell. Speaking of a new hell, Zach, what are we here to do today?
So if you recall last week, we talked about SCP-2571, which is Cracklewood Park, and which we alluded pretty heavily is related to SCP-437, and so we're going to be picking up that trail today with SCP-437. If you need a little bit of a backlog, or not backlog, like a rebriefing of 2571, Cracklewood Park is the memory or reoccurring nightmare of a theme park with trees with faces on them, and a group of kids that get upon a spinning carousel and then disappear. SCP-437, as we'll get to, is related to that.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll fill in a bunch of holes because we definitely had a lot of questions after 2571. And just so it's out there, the title of this SCP is actually called Summer of 91. So, yeah. I just realized that we had been talking about this for the last 2 weeks, and we never even thought about what the name of it could be, other than like human tree.
Yeah, but when do we ever care about that sort of thing? See Blood Brother.
That's true. So, yeah, let's just get right into it, and then we have a whole fun episode planned today.
Yeah, I'll get us kicked off here. SCP-437, Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. A fenced perimeter has been established around SCP-437. Foundation horticulturalists are to be kept on-site to monitor and care for SCP-437-A instances. Testing is prohibited pending review by the Ethics Committee. Mobile Task Force IOTA-10, the damn feds, is to investigate all persons of interest associated with SCP-437 and place them in Foundation custody along with their children.
Okay. Description. SCP-437 is a large grove of trees located in Camp Lakewood, Illinois. For our worldwide audience, that's in the U.S.
Illinois.
It contains 64 instances of SCP-437-A. SCP-437-A are numerous trees common to North America. Each instance has several cankers, atypical interior structures, and, rather than sap, contains significant quantities of human blood. SCP-437 was discovered by the Foundation in 2011, 20 years after the summer camp's closure. Employment records for Camp Lakewood have not been found. All persons who attended Camp Lakewood during the summer of 1991 are persons of interest and are still currently at large. That's it. That's the article.
Cue the audio log. Audio log. Date September 15th, 2014. Interviewer Agent Bennett. Subject Person of Interest 437-15, Samantha Blanchett. Begin log. Did you attempt Camp Lakewood in 1991?
Is this what this is about? Yeah, that was... Wow. 2 decades ago? Wow. I was 15, I think. that really takes me back.
What do you remember from your time there?
Best summer ever. It was an amazing place. I was so sad to go, especially when we found out it was closing. I made so many friends there. So many great memories. I think, yeah, it's even where I had my first kiss.
Did you ever see any strange trees to the south of the camp?
What?
2 kilometers to the south, there's a grove of trees. Are you familiar with it?
I mean, sure. We all were.
In what sense?
I mean, it was goofy kid stuff, you know? Stories the counselors would tell around the campfire. Spooky trees down the southern trail. Something trapped inside of them. Go there at night, press your ear against the bark, and you can hear it singing.
Singing?
Yeah, like I said, goofy kid stuff.
Did you ever go there yourself? Mrs. Blanchett?
Huh? Sorry. No. I never went there. Too scared, I guess. That was a pretty crazy summer, you know? Sometimes, I really miss that place.
End log. Interviewer's note. Shortly after the interviewer, person of interest 437-15 escaped custody via unknown and presumably anomalous means. Subsequent investigations found all persons of interest associated with SCP-437 have recently been reported as missing.
Damn. That's what I call some acting right there.
Yeah, do you remember any of that?
Do I remember what they said, or do I remember...
Moving on. There's also this email update, which we have attached to the file. It is from a Dr. Weiss to the site director August regarding recent findings. Looks like it was sent in 2016, and that about 2 years after that initial interview. Reading... Radiographic and ultrasound imaging determined the presence of humanoid skeletal structures and soft tissue in each instance of SCP-437-A. Organs are, quote, woven into the trees themselves and appear to be semi-functional. Although severely deformed, most of the bones are consistent with adolescent humans between the ages of 13 and 16. In several cases, deformation of the jaw has been minimal. This has allowed us to identify certain instances via dental records taken before 1991. I don't think your person of interest are campers, Jeremiah. I suggest we sub-designate them as part of SCP-437. As for the -A instances themselves, I want to look into the possibility of euthanizing them. They've been in there for 20 years. When you press your ear against the bark, you can't hear them. It's low and muffled, but you can hear them just fine.
That's terrifying. Why is this labeled as a skeletal SCP?
Because the trees got bones in them.
Humans have bones in them. I don't call them skeletal.
Well, I mean, that's a lack of imagination on your part.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And to point out, in the file where it mentions campers in that email is where it links back to 2571, which will be a handy tool to help us later.
So we're gonna just decompress about this specific one, and then we'll tie it all together. So
yes.
Yeah. What do you make of 437 here, Zach?
Well, what we got here is a kids' camp full of trees that used to be people. Or trees that were always trees that are now full of people.
Yeah. Do you think... Okay. So there's two possibilities here, right? Like, either the tree... Like, the kids were absorbed into an already living tree.
Mm-hmm.
Or... the kids became a tree, right?
Right, and the first one has kind of a few subclauses in it, and where, because in that interview log with Samantha, it says that the counselors told the kids to not go anywhere near them, right?
Yeah.
Though it doesn't look like they actually said that looking over the transcript.
Oh. That's what I get for agreeing with you.
Yeah, that's what you gotcha. This is what you get for throwing me into a tree. Jerk. So there's a couple of things, like, were the counselors aware of the exact nature of the trees, or were they just telling spooky stories to scare a bunch of camp kids?
I think it's one and the same. I think
they know, and that they're trying to scare the kids.
Well, I think it's just an urban legend, and in this case it's grounded in fact. But a lot of throughout history, a lot of urban legends or myths or stuff like that all have its thing rooted in reality, and then it's just embellished on as time goes on. So we don't know exactly what the counselors say about it. Just like, hey, they just mentioned something revolving around these trees. So they could say, like, oh, the trees will eat you or something like that. And, that could be true, that could not be true.
Right, but at what point, if you are aware of kid eating trees, do you just kind of open a camp somewhere else and leave the trees alone?
I mean, I guess, but, like, okay, so like, no, I understand. It's like, okay, if your camp has this tale of these trees over there that are eating children, like, why wouldn't you just get up and leave? But, like, realistically, it's a campfire story, right? Like, if somebody tells you about the hash-slinging fucking slasher, like, over a campfire, like, okay, you might be scared in the moment as a little kid, but, like, the person telling it is also with the understanding that they are telling a ghost story. They don't believe in the thing.
No, I'm telling you, like, I'm coming from the perspective of, like, the camp staff and the ownership. Where it's like, if you know that there are kid eating trees over there, like, how much of a sweetheart deal do you have on the lease for the land to where you don't want to move?
Look, man, land's expensive.
Where it's just like, yeah, I know that these insurance payouts for these missing kids is getting real high, but also, like, have you seen what it costs to rent the space?
2 words, Zach. Government subsidiaries.
I don't think the government subsidizes man eating trees, but we've also done worse things in Cambodia, so I don't know.
Another 2 words. Alligator Alcatraz.
Alligator Auschwitz. Ugh.
Anyway.
Yeah, so I don't, like, there's not enough information here to go on to say if the camp, like, as a business entity is in, like, quote-unquote cahoots with these trees, or if they're aware and just, like, can't do much about it, or if there's other reasons why they're staying there.
Wait, are you trying to insinuate that maybe, like, the camp does know that these trees are doing malicious things and, like, are, like, almost sending kids to them as tribute?
I mean, it's a possibility.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was on the same page.
I mean, I can see that being a possibility. I can also kind of seeing it be like the mayor from Jaws, where it's like they don't want to ruin, like, their tourism bucks, but also, like,
right.
there is, like, an actual man-eating hazard present.
Yeah.
And so
I kind of want to push back a little bit on, like, maybe the camp being in cahoots about it, just because it seems that it's only one specific year that this happened. It was just kids that were present at that camp in 1991.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, if you have a year where a bunch of kids are eaten by trees, it's a pretty bad year.
100%.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I have a feeling like if it happened, like, over the course of a year, there might be something more going on. If it doesn't really mention if it happened in one night or not.
Right.
Like, it's the case of, like, well, I've been having myself a doozy of a day, officer. Just, like, out of nowhere, all these camp kids come out and get eaten by the goddamn trees.
Well, okay, and I know we're not talking fully in depth about the connections here yet, but yeah. I do want to bring up that part of the thing with last week's episode was this this thing about a cognito hazard and how it could be affecting a lot of people. So maybe like the camp staff were kind of oblivious to it and only knew about the stories revolving around it.
Maybe this is kind of what you like an inevitable side effect of having what I think might be two like SCPs, which are in fact one SCP, kind of split up into two different documents. But to kind of allude to what I'm thinking we'll get into later is that I think 2571 is a related mimetic effect of 437.
Yeah.
Whereas 2571 is sort of the almost like amnestic of what 437 gives to its victims to forget that they went through a traumatic experience. And so you're not likely to dwell on a freak accident involving your sibling if you even remember that you have a sibling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that would affect like parents or like schools. Like imagine like if like you are a teacher that suddenly has a missing student and their family's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
And so I think there are questions there, but I mean ultimately like it's one of those things where how far any individual can go if there's not like a family willing to pursue a child that they don't even believe that was theirs or remember having.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that conversation of like a police talking to a mom and dad trying to convince them that their child is missing, but the parents are like, I only ever had one kid.
Right. Yeah, I just I struggle to think that like there's any kind of maliciousness or like anything on the camp's part. I think it's just like, you know, even if the camp hears about like, oh, these tales of even just like haunted woods or something like that, like that's a very common thing in summer camps and stuff like that, like counselors being like, oh, if you go over here at night, like it's haunted, watch out. Like nobody's really acting on that kind of stuff. It's just it's ghost stories.
Hear me out. Just like imagine like you lose the one kid in the night, right? You know, maybe you hear that they went south towards that grove of trees. You go there and you notice the sound. You try to follow the sound to go up to a tree, and you hear a tree is fucking singing.
Yeah, I would have pushed back a little bit because it sounds like, you know, the kids that were going there in the summer of 91 are now slowly being turned into these trees or absorbed into the trees. But like even the in the interview the lady says like, oh, you could hear them and stuff like that. And so it was definitely a thing back in 91 as well. Like there were these trees that were doing that. So it actually kind of makes me think that they are semi-carnivorous.
Right.
Just based on the fact that like there were kids trapped in the trees back in 91, and now like presumably it's happening again to those kids that were there in 91.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's kind of like a siren song kind of thing almost, where like
maybe if
you hear it, like it draws you back at some point.
Maybe like you go on, then like you grow, and as you slowly become a bigger meal, then you come back.
Yeah. Like that curiosity of like, what the fuck? Like, I totally blocked out this memory of like a tree that was singing, because like the singing is kind of an interesting thing. Like it'd be different if like you put your ear up against the bark and you could hear a heartbeat or something like that. But hearing it sing specifically really tips me off as like trying to draw things in.
Yeah, and then rereading the description of the file, I want to point out that we never found the employment records for Camp Lakewood.
Oh, shit! I hate when you're right.
I don't I don't necessarily think that proves my point, but it does look sus. And then all persons who attended Camp Lakewood during the summer of 1991 are persons of interest and are still currently at large. So we don't have an exact number of the people who were there at all.
Yeah. See, this is time where I'm really glad that we run a podcast like this together, because like my initial reading of this has completely changed now. Like, this entire thing is completely different now, and I'm so glad that we've been able to talk through this, because this is also a really confusing SCP.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if there's a lot of blink and you miss it details.
Yeah.
So I don't I feel like it would be kind of a stretch to assume that the staff and counselors of the camp didn't exist at all, right? Because
Right.
But also, it does kind of cast a kind of question of if we're dealing with something that is cognito or mimetic hazard adjacent, that it's also not beyond the possibility that some of those counselors weren't actually there or what they were.
Right.
So, but also it's one of those cases where we don't have a lot of other details to go on.
Right.
So
right.
if we're looking strictly at what we have here, we have an abandoned camp in Illinois. We can't prove anyone actually worked there. We have exactly one audio. We have exactly one interview log. We can't find other campers. The one person we did interview is gone.
Well, hang on. I do think that we have interviewed other people. This is POI 437-15.
I think so, but we don't have any. For whatever reason, whoever the researcher on this file was putting this in didn't decide to include those for whatever reason.
Right.
Which
I'm just putting it out there. I don't think that we've only ever seen one POI from this place. I think there's been more. In
a weird way, Dr. Caleb, I think is true, and that we also might have at least 3 additional people that we've interviewed related to this SCP.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't know if anyone's put 2 and 2 together yet, in a meaningful way. But yeah, we have this camp. We have the one recorded audio log for this direct article, and we have a bunch of singing trees that bleed when you cut them.
Zach.
Yep.
You're a tree.
And
what song are you singing?
God, that's a good question.
Because I know my answer.
What is your answer?
Mine is Hooked on a Feeling.
You're sounding the forest and you hear us softly, ooga chaka, ooga.
Exactly. Especially if I get the rest of the trees to join in with me.
God, what would my song be?
Or like you're walking through the woods at night and you just hear a subtle highway to the danger zone.
Like, I don't know if I would sing, but I would say stuff like "No one will ever believe you" all the time. You drop that. Hey, ma'am.
You just start doing like narration. You're like, and suddenly Emily felt like she was being watched.
Like I'm just going full Stanley Parable.
Exactly.
I think I would probably sing either a song by Will Wood or They Might Be Giants.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. I'm also thinking like Fortunate Son.
Like I'm going for like more absurdist than anything else. I would also think like something from the taxpayers, like probably Cuyahoga Canal.
Okay. You like you like put your ear to the tree and it's just like Eminem's Rap God.
You just put your ear up to a tree and you're like, my, what a position! The love of my life is smoking crack in the kitchen. And something non-standard, nothing like people would be like, is this an original song? But like then you realize like, no, it's just from this group I haven't heard of.
They like hold their Shazam up to this tree. I'm kind of caught between like the most girly pop that you can think of. Like I'm talking like California Girls or something, or like something super obscure.
I don't know, something from the Buggles.
There you go.
Just start belting out Radio Kill the Video Star or Video Kill the Radio Star. I think Supertramp would be a good way to grow.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, what's the fucking song from the Lorax movie? Let 'Em Grow.
Legally distinct from Let Them Go.
Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff.
So I think to kind of get into
whoa! I just realized. The picture for the email update, aka Burr Oak, identified as Samantha Blanchett, who is the person in the audio log.
I didn't catch that. I did not catch that.
That is so interesting.
I wonder how we know. Is it from the dental records?
Well, didn't they say that they...
Yeah, it says right there, in several cases, the formation of the jaw has been minimal. This has allowed us to identify certain instances by the dental records taken before 1991.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how we identified old Samantha. Ripped to a real one.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah, not running so fast now, are you?
Yeah. Rest in tree.
Rest in tree. We will leave her in peace. So
well,
yeah.
Also the sap is human blood.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
I guess they could just do a blood test too.
I guess we go. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, like if there's more than one person in a tree.
Oh, that's fair.
I mean, I guess it would get like kind of complicated. You and 8 other men are the father.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah.
Would you still love me if I was a tree?
No.
Alright, let's get to the fucking connections.
I've been trying to do that.
I just keep coming up with the stupidest question to ask you.
Which is why I would not love you if you were a tree. Not anymore.
I'm just the equivalent of the demon doors from Fable, but I have the lowest IQ.
Absolutely not.
You walk up, I come to life, and I'm like, what's brown and sticky?
A stick.
Fuck! And then I'm done.
And then you're done. Worst demon door ever. So yeah, connections. So I think 437 and 2571 are connected. And that I think 2571 is a cognito hazard based around people who experience 437.
Okay.
Or is like a siren song to lure them back, or otherwise a lingering effect of whatever lures people to the tree in the first place. Because trees famously can't move. They need some sort of mechanism to attract people to it.
True.
And I feel like, and I don't know how to explain this in any further detail, just because we don't have a lot of detail ourselves. I think there's a connection between the singing of the trees and the calliope music heard in 2571.
Okay. I agree with you to a point of I think that 2571 is a symptom of 437.
Okay.
I think that 2571, I think Cragglewood Park is what people are experiencing, and them getting onto the carousel is them turning into the trees.
Okay, so you think like the carousel might be some sort of like inner brain manifestation of that process in the real world?
Exactly. The thing that I am struggling with is why are some of the kids taken at that point, and why are some of the kids allowed to leave?
If we're talking about the trees as predators, it could be not wanting to kill off your entire food source at once. Because, I mean, lions don't kill deer for the hell of it.
Okay.
And so, like, maybe they're only taking them as needed, or as, like, whatever their, like, quote-unquote metabolism needs to be.
Fair.
That would be kind of what I would be thinking. And so, like, the initial exposure is what's needed to produce this effect, and then the prey is sort of summoned back as needed. So, like, you have this initial exposure in 1991, and then over the next 10, 20, 30 years, you're just called back as needed. And I don't know necessarily what level of nutrients or what rate of nutrient ingestion that the trees would need to sustain itself, or if indeed whatever this process grants them. Other than cutting open the trees to confirm the human contents, I don't know necessarily what the tree is getting out of this.
Yeah, it's. I think I can kind of bridge it just a little bit to where, like, you know, Cragglewood Park is this, like, shared dream that these kids have.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the kids get on the carousel and are presumably lost, turned into trees or whatnot, and then some of them are allowed to continue on, but have that cognito hazard where they don't remember anything about it, but they have that almost for lack of a better term, no pun intended, splinter that constantly draws them back to this Camp Lakewood, back to the forest.
Yeah, almost like a Silent Hill thing where people are called back to the town.
Exactly. And then, you know, one day they wake up and like they're being talked to about it, and then their curiosity awakens that splinter or whatever, and boom, now they're going back to go listen to the tree singing.
Right. Then that's when they might have some sort of I don't know. It's hard to square that, like, the images we saw portrayed in the nightmares described by 2571 with the actual Cragglewood Park, if it is indeed the same place as Lakewood Camp or Camp Lakewood in Illinois, because it never says, we never get an idea of a stated location for Cragglewood Park, which does kind of like lend to the idea that it could be like just a purely imaginary space based off of memories of a real space.
Yeah.
Because typically when we have a place like this mentioned in a file, it would be like Cragglewood Park, what is the theme park in redacted state or whatever.
Yeah.
We don't have that because it is the, quote, memory of a non-existent theme park.
Right. I think that there is some sort of physical manifestation of Cragglewood Park. I think that it's probably this place where 437 is, just based on the fact that there is literally videotape evidence of this place being here.
Yeah, that's the other thing I can't quite understand, and that we've had, I feel like we definitely have seen other SCP entities or anomalies that produce real footage or artifacts of a place that is not extant. To use a somewhat extreme example is, like, when we were talking about Sarkic season, anytime we uncover new lore about the Davites, it simultaneously creates a new history of that Davite empire.
Right.
And so I kind of wonder if this non-physical space can create supporting evidence for itself as part of that process. I don't know what I have to support it, other than that we do have a videotape of a place that shouldn't or does not exist.
Right. Well, and I would completely be okay with it just being like a thing where, like, okay, they were able to record going to this camp and seeing these trees. And, like, that is where that took place. But the fact that it's called Cragglewood Park, when that has, like, nothing to do other than the fact that Camp Lakewood and Cragglewood Park both have the word wood in them, which, I mean, haha, it's about trees. But If it was something where like somebody shot a really shitty home video and this happened, and like you probably wouldn't label it Cragglewood, a word that you probably never heard before. You'd label it the Bite of 87. You know, you label it Camp Lakewood.
Yeah, that's one thing I can't square. The same thing is with the Calliope music, because the Calliope music is mentioned extensively in 2571, but not in 437.
Right.
And
but also the carousel's not either. You know, the carousel and the Calliope music could go hand in hand.
Yeah, and so if that is part of the cognito hazard, that would make sense. It would also make sense if there was just a strictly side effect of 2571, if it is indeed a secondary anomalous effect of 437.
Mm-hmm.
Which feels like a series of stretches because it is.
Right.
Yeah, we have a Euclid that is referring to a Euclid, so we have one poorly understood phenomena that is linked to another poorly understood entity, series of entities. We have 64 instances of the -A's in 437. So that could be a lot of dead kids.
Right.
I don't know I don't know necessarily what conclusions we could draw on. And as barbaric as it would be, I kind of want to see if we can record an instance of a subject being called back and then absorbed into a tree, just to actually understand what was actually happening there. But under no circumstance should we actually allow that to happen. If nothing else, for ethical reasons. But I don't know how to answer that question other than, because it seems like the victim population is self-selecting insofar as they had to be exposed earlier. And that's kind of leads me to another question I had, is that the victims themselves were described as... They were all persons who were attending from summer of 1991. But we don't have from 2571 is a list of people who attended 437 in 1991. And so I don't know if those instances were taken. But the other thing I wanted to point out is in 2571, we have the line, subjects were between ages of 4 and 12 when they visited. And then we had another date range of victims for 437, which was 13 to 16?
13 to 16, yeah.
Which
is definitely, I mean, that's completely outside of the parameters of Cragglewood.
It's not completely out of it, but it is adjacent to it in an interesting way, because the upper limit for Cragglewood Park was 12, and then this immediately picks up at 13.
13 to 16, yeah.
Yeah, and if the interview with Samantha Blanchett was done in 2014, and again, this is someone who went to the camp in 1991, we should be able to see the bones of Samantha Blanchett as being consistent with someone in their 30s.
Right. Well, and most of the bones are consistent with adolescent humans between the ages of 13 and 16. So that almost makes me think that maybe these are all campers. These are all probably campers that were between the ages of 13 and 16 when they were absorbed. At least that is completely separating from Cragglewood,
unless of course we remember that the people who experienced 2571 aren't the people who were riding the carousel and or eaten by the trees.
Right.
So this could be the sibling.
That's true. I'm almost wondering, you alluded to it earlier, all the people that experienced 2571 did not get on the carousel but are now subjects of 2571 are also those POIs, those campers. And they are brought back, and almost the trees, when they absorb those people, they revert back to where they were when they were at the camp in 91.
I mean, it's not impossible. I don't know if it's supported, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a tree that eats people. I think that we can...
We're talking about trees that have a mimetic effect that used to call back their victims, allegedly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's one of those things where, we could speculate a lot, but we also don't have a lot to go on in the text, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of dissecting what little there is.
100%. I do really like the pair of these just because they answer a lot of questions for each other, but then they also ask a lot of questions. Like I have twice as many questions now, but I don't know. I also feel satisfied. Like this a cool fucking pair of SCPs.
Yeah, and the last point I want to kind of dwell on before I think we're done is in the email from Dr. Weiss to Director August. We have the line where it says, "I don't think your persons of interest are campers," which is the hyperlink to 2571. And I want to know what reasoning there was for that speculation on the part of Dr. Weiss.
Interesting.
Because the statement is made, and then there's no further documentation on either side.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
And I can't really speculate more.
Oh my goodness. What if Camp Lakewood never existed?
Well, then what's that MTF doing out there in Illinois then?
What's the MTF doing?
Yeah, because we sent them there.
Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah,
if you're talking about
thinking,
if you're talking about like the business entity of Camp Lakewood, as in a business that takes in campers for like summer camp, never existing like fully, maybe. I mean, we don't have employment records, and
I'm just thinking maybe the so 2571 implants this shared memory of the carousel, calliope music. The kids getting on, some of them staying. Maybe the kids that are staying, the memories that are also formed by Cragglewood Park are them being at this camp and hearing the ghost stories and all that other stuff that they hear about. And so, I don't think your POIs are the campers. They never attended Camp Lakewood. They were just something implanted the memory within them of Cragglewood Park. And again, there are holes in this theory too, but like something implanted the memories of Cragglewood Park into them, and then they were subjected to have this also shared memory of Camp Lakewood, and that is where they end up going to ultimately meet their demise.
Maybe. It's hard to say, just because we are dealing with a mimetic and cognitive effect to say determinatively which came first. The only reason I would maybe disagree with that take is that in a documentation level, we have record at 437 before we have a 2571.
True, yeah.
But we've also had cases where the inciting incident was documented before and after a secondary effect was discovered and then later cataloged.
Right.
So I don't know if we can entirely dismiss it neither. It's complicated.
Wow. Yeah, no, this has been fun. This has been a good time. This has been a good one.
Yeah, and so ultimately what we have here, if I want to try and sum it up, is that we have a physical space with allegedly carnivorous trees that can produce a mimetic effect that affects people well after the initial exposure.
Or without any exposure, possibly.
Either way, that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Those are some whack-ass trees.
Remember, kids, if the trees start singing, don't feed them.
There's got to be a song that would completely disarm me.
Oh, probably.
If I heard a tree. It would be Hooked on a Feeling. If a tree started singing Hooked on a Feeling, like, I wouldn't be able to resist.
Yeah.
Anyway, Zach, is there anything else that you can think of regarding some trees and some kids?
Yeah, don't let your kids play in the forest unsupervised, I guess.
And also release the Epstein files.
Anyway,
Zach, where can people find you?
They can find me on my personal blog of www.makeawritingcheck.blogspot.com. They can also find my largely unused YouTube channel of Roll for Fighting Presents, but that'll be updated in times for spooky season. They can also find my book, my ebook, available for sale on Amazon, Smashwords, Barnes & Noble, and wherever else you want to buy an ebook. And more recently, I created a Blue Sky, so you can also follow Roll for Writing on Blue Sky.
Nice. And let me tell you, folks, it's really handy to have a writer friend, because earlier I was trying to write some stuff for this episode, and I was just like, Zach, I don't understand the grammar of this, and he was able to help me. So, use your friends, folks.
Accept help from your friends. Don't use your friends.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Calica1738. You can find me on YouTube at Calica or Twitch at Calica Plays. All of those are ghost towns. I keep telling people that I want to start it back up, but I think I've been promising that for the last year and a half or so. The fact that I can say a year and a half in terms of the podcast is crazy, but and it never happens. So it'll happen when it happens. You can also check out my other creative project on Resurgence YGO on YouTube, where I run a podcast talking about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! The trading card game. And I have lulled even more of my friends to start a podcast with me where we just talk about competitiveness when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, that's on Resurgence YGO. And yeah. You can find the podcast on Twitter at SCPod_cast. You can find it on Instagram at SCPod.cast. We're available on both Spotify and YouTube. And I say it at the end of every episode, and my cat has come in to even speak his mind about it too. You wouldn't want to let Momo down, would you?
Don't let Momo down. I'll hurt you.
Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, rate the podcast, follow the podcast. Anything that you can do to interact with the podcast really goes a long way. These platforms are built on algorithms, and just by watching the podcast and getting this far has really, you've put a lot of good energy into there, but just leaving a little bit of an interaction really does tell YouTube and Spotify, like, hey, these guys are pretty decent at what they do, and what they do is a lot of tomfoolery. So, yeah, that's about all we got. And Zach, what are we covering next week?
Next week, I do believe we are talking about the old man.
We're talking about a big one.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting episode. We're going to be splitting up into two parts. The first episode will be the reading of the old man, and then the second part will be the discussion of.
Okay, well, that's exciting. I'll have to put in my vacation request for that.
I'll deny episode.
It. Anyway, I think the Sarkic season proved that I can't take vacation away from you.
Sure can't.
Anyway, look forward to that. That one's going to be a lot of fun. And Zach, what is the message of your eco-terrorist group?
Dump your plastic in the ocean.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.